Hi, this is Natalie Hoffman of FlyingFreeNow.com, and you're listening to the Flying Free Podcast, a support resource for women of faith looking for hope and healing from hidden emotional and spiritual abuse. Welcome to episode 102 of the Flying Free Podcast. I'm still trying to get used to saying the word 100, but a couple of episodes ago, we celebrated our 100th episode. It was pretty fun. And now we're moving on. And I have with me today, Stacey Hanrahan. Sorry, I have to say it like that. Stacey Hanrahan and Robin Zimmer. And if you have been listening to the Flying Free Podcast for a while, you might recognize Robin. She is in episode 82 where she shares her story. And Stacey shares her story in the Flying Free program behind locked doors. But if you'd ever joined Flying Free, or if you're a member, you can check out Stacey's story. But today, first of all, let me welcome you guys. Hi, Robin. Hi, Stacey.
Hello.
So I invited them on with me today because I want to talk about the Flying Higher program. So let me just, for those of you who are new or you have no idea what I'm talking about, there are two, I have this podcast for everybody. Anyone can listen to the podcast. And then I have a website, flyingfreenow.com, with all kinds of articles and stuff for Christian women about abusive relationships, right? So that's available to everybody. It's free. There, you can access it anytime you want to. And sometimes I'll even go on YouTube and do a video that way. But I have two programs now, one that's been going for 3.5 years called Flying Free, and it's a private program for Christian women of faith who wants extra support. It offers coaching and expert workshops and a community forum and all kinds of live events every month and all kinds of stuff. Okay. But what happened was that a lot of these women were getting strong and they were just needing something else. They had been in the program for a while and they wanted something more. And many of them were getting divorced. Not that everyone gets divorced in that program, but some of them were getting divorced and they were like, what do I do now? And is there anything out there for Christian divorced women? And there really isn't a whole lot of much of anything. I mean, I don't know that there's, yeah. So I decided I'm going to make something for those women. And that's how Flying Higher was born. So Flying Free, and then we're going to take all those butterflies who are flying free and we're going to help them to fly higher. So Flying Higher is for divorced Christian women. And it's quite different from Flying Free in that our whole goal is to, it's so easy for us to sit back and think, abuse just ruined my life. And I spent the best years of my life in this horrible relationship. And now I'm a washed up old lady and my family doesn't love me and my church has rejected me. And I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. Flying Higher, I want to take all of those women and I want to show them and teach them and train them how to become the best version of themselves for the second half of their life, no matter how old you are. And I started a beta group. So Flying Higher actually opens to the public on the 27th of January. So in about a week, but I started a beta group with about 120 women, and they started with me. I think it was in April or May of 2020. And Stacey and Robin were two of those women who were in the beta group. And that's why I invited them on here, because I want to be able to ask them some questions and have them share with you a little bit about their experience with Flying Higher, so that if you're thinking that it might be something you'd be interested in, you kind of know on a practical level what it exactly is. Okay, so there are three main parts to Flying Higher. One is that there's weekly coaching. And then the second thing is that there's a weekly lesson, and we do a live class that you can come live if you want, or you can just watch the replay, but a class every week. And we do we do courses. So there are topics. So for example, the topic that we're in right now is called Getting It Done. And we're learning about how to get past all of the brain drama that happens in our minds when we have things that we need to get done and we just don't get them done. And we just, they sit around and rattle around in our lives, and it's very bothersome. And yet it's really hard for us sometimes to get going. So that's what we're doing right now. So we have a live class, and then we have a coaching session every month. And then we've got a community forum. Okay, so let's start off with, first of all, why don't you guys each tell us a little bit about yourself and how you even, maybe how long you were in Flying Free, because you were both in Flying Free for quite a while. And why did you decide to join Flying Higher? And what were you thinking when you joined? What were you thinking that you were going to get out of it? So let's start with you, Robin.
Okay, so I think I was in Flying Free. Well, I started August of 2018. So it was a year and a half, I guess. Is that the right timeline? A year and a half that I was in it. It was actually the first thing I have ever done for myself, like to get me to be better, like just mentally, I don't know, figure out what was going on in my life. I woke up to the abuse. I had no idea that it was such a thing. And then, research on the internet. I found you, Natalie. And then I was like, wow, Flying Free is opening up. And I think I'm just going to spend the money. I didn't ask anybody's permission to spend the money. I just started Flying Free. And that was, it was truly a lifesaver. So that's kind of how I started. And I've kind of forgotten everything else that you said to tell you about. So,
So then when I told you guys that I was going to start this beta group, Flying Higher, what were you thinking at that point? Were you divorced by then, or were you still in the middle?
No, I wasn't. I had just gone through mediation in February of this year, and it failed. But I had already, I had gotten to the point where I knew I was in an abusive relationship. I knew I wanted out, obviously, because I was getting a divorce. And so that stuff was kind of all like, do I still just sit there and spin my wheels, or do I do something else for me? Because I really don't know. I've been just a mom for the last 20 years. I was told that growing up. I wanted to be an architect at one point in my life. And I was told, you don't need to be an architect. You're just going to be a great mom. So I was a great mom. But now, after being a great mom, my youngest is at home, but the other three are off in the world. And now, what do you do next? And so Flying Higher kind of was like just that next little shove that I needed to kind of figure out, there's more to Robin than just being a mom. But I have no idea what that is. So Flying Higher's kind of helped me jumpstart a few things and just think about what's next after the divorce was final. So,
okay. So I have a question, because we were talking right before the podcast about a lodge that your mom owns.
Yep.
And you were talking about the possibility of running that lodge eventually. Tell us about that.
So my father passed away 2.5 years ago, and they own this hunting lodge that they've been running for 20 some years. I have 4 other siblings, but none of them are really interested in it. And now that I'm living back here, there is the potential to take over the lodge. My mom, she's getting older, and I don't think she wants to do it full time so much. There's a lot to it, cooking and cleaning. She hired my uncle as the guide since my dad was no longer there. And so there's a possibility for it. And people keep encouraging me to do it. But I still, in my mind, think, I just don't know. I've never done anything like that. I can do it. I've been hunting. I've been guiding. I've cooked. I've cleaned. I've done it all there, except for the book work. But it's just that it's a scary next step. Can I really buy this and take it over from my mom? What if I fail? Right?
Yeah.
And so it is scary. And I don't know. I'm just recently divorced. So I'm kind of just taking this time to relax a little bit and just think about life and not really think about life. And then see what the next step is. But that is a potential. But because, during 20 years of marriage, when you're being told you're not good enough, or, all these other things are in your head from other people, what they said about you, and you believed them, like, can I really do this thing? Of course I can do it. I do it on a daily basis during the fall. I just am not in charge of it. So I don't have that responsibility.
Right.
So,
right. And that's kind of oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, flying higher is kind of helping me get over that hump. Like, I raised 4 decent human beings. I think I can run a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that you can make that decision for yourself.
Yes.
You mentioned asking permission. I think a lot of us felt like, well, we have to ask for permission. We have to get people's approval before we make a big decision like that. But to realize that, man, I am an adult. I can make my own decision about this. I can choose to do it if I want to, and I can choose not to do it if I want to. And either choice is perfectly fine. And I can also choose to do it for a while and then to quit if I want to. I can make a mistake, and it's perfectly fine. That's part of, putting the puzzle together of my life, and it's all good.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, because it is a family run business for such a long time. And because I'm technically the one who could do it because I have the time, the money, the whatever, but I don't want to be guilted into it either. Like, if you don't do it, then it closes it down. And where's the family going to meet on Christmas now? So that I'm not even taking that into an account. It's just, do I want to do it or not? And that's huge for me to not feel guilty over something. And okay, I want to do it, or I don't want to do it in the end. There's nothing else that really needs to go into that decision.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, I'm a big girl now.
You are a big girl now. It's awesome. We're all big girls. Yep. Okay. So Stacey, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your situation and your journey to flying higher?
Okay. I think I ran into your book on Amazon, and I figured out about the Flying Free thing about this just shortly after. And then I put 2 and 2 together that it was actually tied to the book. Okay. And I got on the waiting list for a few months. And I think I finally got to join maybe last November, about a year ago.
Okay.
And I got divorced last December. So I did a lot of the journey kind of after my divorce, but oh my goodness, it was so life-saving. I tell everyone I ever meet about it.
That's interesting. So you were... Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's interesting that you were in Flying Free, and most of the time you were divorced, but you still felt like it was really helpful for you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Because, you kind of have to process what just happened to you, and the validation that I got, and the camaraderie, and the specific questions. Because, I'm still dealing with him, even though we're divorced, still dealing with this narcissist and understanding him, and just kind of figuring out what the heck happened to me the last 20 years, 25 years. So I love Flying Free, but I will say probably 6 or 8 months in, less and less of the things really super applied to me. Like they did, I could listen, but it was kind of like, well, I'm pretty much getting, through this. And there were a few that were like, oh yeah, I still really need to hear that. But, a lot of them was just not applicable to me anymore so much. Right. Which was great. And then when you said Flying Higher was opening up and what it was, oh my goodness, I was so excited because, we've gotten through this horrible situation. And like you said, now what? And so it was so exciting. I've been kind of on my own personal journey, just trying to grow myself, and figure out what do I want to be when I grow up. I'm only 50 years old. I got, a lot more life to live. Mm-hmm. And, but I knew there was a lot of, things that I just wasn't very good at. I just didn't feel very confident in, like Robin, I was kind of told things all throughout my marriage about what I could and couldn't do. I was told who I was, what I believed. And now it was time to put feet to it. You know what I mean? Like now I've kind of done some of the healing technically, but now what do I do with all that information that I learned, and how do I get past it and like fly higher, you know? And so really learning about it, I was like, I loved when you said something about learning how to be a badass. I'm like, I want to learn to be a badass. I can do that, you know? And so, I really feel like that's what it has done. I mean, I've just kind of learning, like, it really, what it's teaching us is just how to put legs on the important things about life that we want to do, like be thinner and more healthy and plan things and get through things, and how we think about problems and dealing with the, you know, when we do hit a wall and hit a crisis, how do we handle it? How do we think about it? How do we get past it? How do we think about what we're thinking, which is so, so valuable. And I was just going through the lessons in preparation for this, and I'm just like, oh, I love that part. Oh, that was so cool to learn that. And, you know, it's just been such a blessing. And I'm excited for the other things we're going to learn too. So
can you give an example of a lesson that you maybe looked at that you remembered? Oh, that was really helpful for me personally. Or do you guys have something that kind of stands out in your mind that you think that was probably a big changing point, or I had a epiphany in that moment that helped my life?
For the one that leaps off for me that was just really practical was the diet one, the weight loss one. And again, you mentioned that in the weight loss, it's not just for weight loss, it's for getting anything done. And I really enjoyed, you gave us the specifics on how your body loses weight, which was fascinating. And just broke down all these things I had thought about, and just how to wrap your brain around it and conquer it, and how to successfully navigate your cravings and your mindset about it, because mindset is probably 90% of it, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, you know, exercise is important, but not everything. And so that kind of frees you up to just not feel like you have to like fail if you can't get on a treadmill, you know? So that, and then I love Days of Our Lives too. That was really, like, there have been a few times where, like, it was in the Days of Our Lives and it was in our past where I just started crying, you know, like, oh my goodness. I don't know. I just kind of brought out compassion for myself. And also the thought that, like, how I think about myself and how I think about my life matters, and that I'm valuable and I can do this. And you're giving us the steps to do it. Oh, and I really love this latest one we're doing too. It's been the getting things done. I just have like 6 things I want to get done. And I love the Google Calendar thing. It's just like, oh my goodness. I was just thinking about you, Robin, like, you know, your whole lodge thing, that's just like baby steps. It's just, that's how I got out of my whole marriage. I just kept telling myself every day, just baby steps, Stace, just baby steps, just do the next thing, just take little bitty steps and it's going to happen. And that was how I got out of my marriage. And that's what you do to get things done. And boy, you do get things done, and we can get things done. And we're just all going to be badasses.
Getting all the things done.
Get all the things
all the
done.
Weight. Yeah, the losing weight thing. It's basically stay on protocol, and all the rest is brain drama. So really, it's just dealing with the brain drama.
That's exactly it with me on the losing weight, the brain drama, because for my whole life as a child, I was abused. I was by men in my family, dad, grandpa, uncles, and they would just make fun of me all the time. And so I ate to fill myself up because I felt empty after these people who I worshiped would make fun of me, and they'd never make fun of anybody else. And so I was called names like Bubbles and linebacker. And I mean, just really bad for a girl 10 years old. Wow. And so I used to eat, and I continued doing that. And I would eat to like through emotions. And that was the one thing I started looking at was, what is the emotion behind putting something in my mouth? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, but I eat. And that was huge for me to look at it from that perspective. Like, what emotion is driving this? I'm not hungry, I'm emotional. And so that one was huge for me. And feel the feels. Like, just, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed. I think growing up for me in church, we were taught that anger is a bad emotion, that was sinful. Well, it's not sinful. Being depressed is sinful. Wait a second. There are times we go through things that we just don't want to get out of bed. That doesn't mean we stop believing in God or, we're awful people. That's just an emotion that we are going through. Anxiety, it's an emotion. And so those for me were like the two biggest things in Flying Higher. The calendar, sorry, I can't think of the name of it, but just
Google.
Yeah.
Using the Google Calendar.
Yeah. And planning. I have so many things in my head right now that I feel like I want to do, and I know I need to write them down and make a schedule. Otherwise, it's just overwhelming. And my office still needs to be cleaned. And I had that on my calendar like 5 times. It might be this week. I don't know.
So come to coaching. Come get coaching on that.
Well, coaching now, I definitely am going to start being more consistent with that because volleyball's over, the divorce is over. So yes, definitely.
Yeah. And like we just talked about, we don't have to be in crisis to do the coaching. We could just do it with something rattling around in our head. Because I think a lot we have to be in crisis in order to take up that time. And it's like, no, she just wants to run models so people can see how it's done. So ladies, if you have something you just want coaching on in Flying Higher, come to the coaching session so we can have it.
Yeah. So coaching is one of the things we do every week in Flying Higher, and it's comes with your membership. So you can put in a coaching request, and then you can get personal coaching, and it's in a group setting. So everyone gets to hear you getting coaching, but you can also hear other people getting coaching, and it's helpful. Even I'm in a program where I listen to coaching. I listen to other people getting coaching all the time. And it's so helpful for me because so many of the things that they're going through, I can relate to them on one level or another. And it helps me to get insights into my own thinking. Like, I think that same thing. Why do I think that? Why do I believe that? How is that showing up in my life? And then what am I getting as a result in my life? It's not good. So why do I want to keep that? I don't.
I think also with the coaching, there's women out there that they think other people are going to be judgmental. Like, oh, we've already done that. We don't need to listen to you. Or, oh, that's a little thing. That's not a big problem. That's not true because it's specific to you. And if it's bothering you or you need coaching on it, definitely get coaching on it, even if it's little, because it might help somebody else who's sitting there too embarrassed to speak up or they don't want to be judged, which I'm telling you, we don't judge people in this group. But it helps other people. I know one of the gals, after the last time you coached me, she personal messaged me and said, Robin, I am so glad you brought that up because I've been struggling and I didn't even know that that's what I was struggling about. Yeah. But you brought it up in coaching and it helped me. And I just didn't have the words to spell it out. So, I mean, the coaching call for me is one of the best things that Flying Higher does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good.
I just want to say one of the things I enjoy about Flying Higher versus Flying Free. Flying Free was more, for people who are in crisis and who are drowning and looking to be saved. And so we are putting everything into this because it's like the only way we can make it through the day. And Flying Higher is kind of like, okay, I made it past that. And now I'm ready to become a badass. And the lessons in Flying Higher are a little less overwhelming. Like, I love that in Flying Free, it's kind of like a smorgasbord and you can look and pick and choose what's applicable to you. What are you dealing with now? You can pick and choose what you listen to, but there was so much information, which is great. But I always kind of felt like I wanted to listen to everything at first. And especially when I was more, before I got divorced. But I like that Flying Higher is a little simpler, a little less, time intensive and easier to manage.
I think Natalie,
Go ahead.
I really explained it as Flying Free is more like the emergency room. And I'm in crisis, where Flying Higher is, okay, we figured out what the trauma was. And now we're we're all stitched up. And now we're going to heal that broken part of us.
Now we're going to become the
Wait, what did you say, Stacey? We're going to what?
I'm the doctor. We were the patient. Now we're going to be back the doctor.
Right. Well, I like to think of it as now we're going to like train for a marathon.
Yeah.
So we're going to we're not in the ICU anymore. We're going to I'm going to be your personal trainer. Yeah. And we're going to kick some butt, and we're going to get out there and run a marathon. Or we're going to actually, our idea right now in our class that we're doing is that we're going to climb a mountain. We're going to go mountain climbing.
And I just want to add that it's not that we're just going, rah, we're going to do this. Natalie's giving us specific steps. And not only is she giving us the nuts and bolts of how to do it, but like what our brain should be doing or could be doing, and how to get past the things that it probably is doing. And, so it's really the whole package, it's really the nuts and bolts of doing it and the emotional part, which is so important. And I think we're all figuring that out, in life in general. We're all figuring out that the mental game is a lot of it. And so, we're just growing our lives and growing ourselves,
Yeah. Well, and one of you guys mentioned the idea that we've been taught for so long that our emotions are bad. And yet that's the exact thing that we need to understand if we want to figure out why we have so much drama in our brains about things, because our brain drama is causing those emotions. And if we're not aware of them, if we're just stuffing them and just like, oh, I'm not angry, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm cool. But inside our bodies are freaking out and feeling all of those things. Then we're not going to ever be able to look at why. Why do we feel so much anger? Why are we feeling so afraid? Why are we not? And that fear and that anger could be blocking you from actually living your best life. And so it's really important that we are aware of those emotions and what we're thinking that's causing those emotions. So important. So Definitely. Yeah. So I'm curious now, before we close, I want to, right now we're in, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, but right now we're doing this course called Get It Done. And by the way, if you join Flying Higher, you will have access to all of the past courses. I mean, it could be overwhelming because we also continue to have weekly classes, but if you're, if you want to dive in and into any of the other past classes, you can do that at your leisure. But we're in the middle of Get It Done right now. And I'm curious, do you guys have a specific thing in your mind that I'd really like to get this thing done? Robin, you mentioned your office. You want to clean your office.
Because everything, I literally officially got divorced on Monday. This is Saturday, okay?
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I have put literally everything else on hold. My house is a disaster. My garage is a disaster. So I have this laundry list of things to do, like clean out my pantry, clean my office, straighten this up. I'm actually going to start remodeling some of my house because it's 50 plus years old. But I don't have like the Google Calendar set up because I find it very easily to get distracted. Yeah. And so as long as I have the pantry and the office and I have them written down and I can go and cross them off. If I feel like doing the pantry on Monday, I'll do it on Monday. If I don't, I'm going to find something else on the list to cross off. But as long as I get one thing done that day, then I feel like I accomplished something and I can go and take my dog for a walk or, whatever. Like, I don't feel like, on Monday I said I have to do the office. And like the last thing I want to do is look at divorce paperwork right now. And so I shut the door, So I don't want to keep it to that kind of schedule. But I know there's certain things that I've been putting off that I really need to start organizing and getting done. So I'm just making a general list and doing something each day, but not something specific on each day. So
yeah. And that's really cool.
Where I am.
That's a great example of how you can take, I can teach you, I can give you tools, right? And give you ideas, But then you can, because you're an adult, that's the whole point of this, right? It's to remember, hey, I'm an adult. I have a certain way that is going to work better for me that may not work better for somebody else. But you get these ideas and it gets your brain juices flowing, and then you start figuring it out for yourself. I just recently heard this and now I'm using it all the time, but someone said, I just don't want to make mistakes, or I want to make sure that I do it all right. I have to do it all right and do everything that I'm told but here's the thing. It's like our lives are like putting together a puzzle. And when you put together a puzzle, we've been doing a lot of puzzles during COVID. Okay. When you put together a puzzle, I know, you take a piece and you try it somewhere and it doesn't work there. And then you try it another place. It doesn't work there either. And you have to keep trying it. But those are all little micro mistakes that you're making, because that's how you end up finding out where the piece actually does fit, by trying it out in different places. And that's okay. That's normal and good. And at least you're in the game playing, putting the puzzle together. Right.
And that's one of the things, like what Flying Free taught was, you don't have to feel guilty over not doing something or being perfect. We're out of that. We don't have to be perfect for anyone anymore. And so if it fits a certain way, the puzzle piece fits a different way for me than it does for you, that is great. Just try to use these skills that you give us and keep going forward. So
yes.
Yeah,
I like it. Okay, Stacey, what about you?
Okay. I have so many things on my list. I just recently moved my mom, who is getting dementia, and she's been in really bad shape by herself in Seattle. And I just moved her here to where I live. And I've had to deal with all her bills and getting her house cleaned out. And she was a hoarder and on the market and that kind of thing. And so I have lost control of my own life, and even flying higher, I've gotten behind. And so, and I don't want to miss anything. I will say some of it, I'm like, if I don't use it now, I'm just learning what I can. And I just got it for later, because not everything is going to apply to our lives right now. But now I've got the information, I've got the tools, and it also teaches you about other things. But I think I'm going to try to, the paperwork thing is kind of nebulous. It's not really specific. But I want to try and figure out how I can kind of get on top of that and get on top of my own paperwork, and also my own. I would like to. This is funny. I would like to try and catch up on the Flying Free stuff that I wanted to do, because I got behind on that as well when this whole thing started with my mom. And so I'm still in Flying Free and Flying Higher, and I don't want to let Flying Free go, because I love it, And there is stuff I want to catch up on. So I want to do that, but mainly I think I'm going to try and clean out my house. I'm finding that I'm walking around going, why do I own all of my homeschooling stuff still? Couldn't get rid of it. And I'm getting ready to, because I'm not homeschooling anymore, which makes me sad. But I just have a whole bunch of stuff I really need to get rid of, plus my mom's stuff. So I think that's where I'm going to try and focus, is decluttering, selling my mom's stuff, and trying to just winnow down the stuff in my life.
Yeah, that's a huge job if you've got yours and your mom's.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm down to kind of the stuff I want to sell, which is, because, for my mom anyway, since she was halfway across the country, a lot of her stuff just had to get donated and tossed, which was so sad. It was so hard. It was so hard on her, but I had no choice. I could only fit so much, to get her here. And she's not very happy about it, but so that's okay. I just tell her, you can be mad at me. I understand. I wouldn't be happy about it either. You're going to be mad.
Huge for us to be able to say that,
Yes.
I got that Flying Higher. I kid you not.
Yeah.
Just be able to compartmentalize it and go, I don't need to take this inside myself. And also, I want to say one thing that I learned, and it's helped me with this, is to remember that your emotions come from your thoughts. So just think about what you're thinking about. Because so often I would ruminate about things and worry about things, and it would just freak me out. And then I wouldn't be able to show up for things in a good, healthy way. And so, that's helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Well, I really appreciate your willingness to come on here and spend some of your time really being vulnerable and sharing some of the things that you're struggling with and have in the past. And Robin, congratulations on your divorce. It's so weird to say that. I mean, isn't that weird?
You know what's even more interesting is people will ask me, my oldest daughter asked me, she's like, so do you say congratulations? It's sad that it had to come to this point, but I'm very happy that it's finally done. You know, the abuse on top of abuse towards the end for 10 months, financial and psychological abuse like I've never seen before in my life. I'm glad it's over. You can congratulate me. I got out of a horrible situation and I'm alive to tell my kids about it.
And you didn't cause the situation. So congratulations.
Right.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome. And so for those of you who are listening, Flying Higher is opening up on January 27th. And you can go over to the website. It's www.joinflyinghigher.com. And when it opens, there will actually be a lot more information on there than is probably on there right now. But you can at least go over there and get on the waiting list. If you get on the waiting list, then I'll actually send you an email when it opens up so that you can go over, learn more about it, and sign up if you're interested. And that's all I have. I also want to encourage you to, if this podcast has been helpful to you, head over to Apple iTunes and leave a rating and a review. That lets other Christian women know that this podcast is out there for them, and hopefully they can find it and get the help that they need for the different issues that they have in their lives. So thanks again, Stacey and Robin, for being with me. And thank you to those of you who are listening. Until next time, fly free.
And higher.